Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I want to know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Mindset Monday, which is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. And today we are talking about life with MS, life with MS, MS standing for multiple sclerosis. March is MS Awareness Month. And this week, March 12th through 19th, is Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Week. And so I am donning my orange. I have on my orange Conversations with Nicole shirt because orange is the color for MS. But I have, I was supposed to have two guests, but I have one lovely guest, Miss Natasha Acoff, who is going to join me in just a few moments to talk about life with MS. And so this is an interactive live. I fully expect to hear from you. So if you will, in the comments, put your city and state and let me know you're here so I can give you a shout out. I expect to get your questions, your comments. Again, this is interactive. This is a safe space for us to engage with one another. So this is a very important topic, and my guest has lived experience with MS and also is a huge MS advocate. So I see you, Tanisha. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for being here. And my godmom Corliss in Miami, Florida. Thank you for being here. So listen, y'all. I had a delightful time in Miami this weekend. My dad turned 80. So we have an octogenarian in my family, in my core, my nucleus. And so we celebrated him really, really nicely this weekend. And so I also had the great opportunity of attending the 16th annual Jazz in the Garden, 2 days worth of just great music down at the Hard Rock Stadium. So I call it grown folk spring break because that's what it felt like, and it was good. So, but glad to be here with you all and looking forward to this great conversation. I see you, Miss Maya, Tallahassee T-Town. Thank you for being here. Tamaria, thank you. I appreciate that. Right here in Tallahassee, I appreciate that. Yes, happy birthday to Daddy. He had a really good time. So, thank you all who have chimed in and wished him well. He's still celebrating. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, I am going to go ahead and read some of Miss Natasha's bio. Natasha Acoff is a 42-year-old Tallahassee native, a graduate of the Florida State University. Any Seminoles in the house? She has worked as an IT consultant with CGI for over 16 years. She is a single mother with two boisterous boys, Amari and Ashton, who are 5 and 3, respectively. As an active parent, she enjoys participating in events at their schools and sports. She enjoys spending time with the family, game nights, arcades, going out to eat, and just those fun things. Natasha is active in her community, supporting STEM literacy in underserved communities, leading efforts to raise awareness of multiple sclerosis, which is also known as MS, and various other volunteer activities. Natasha was diagnosed with MS in 2014 after experiencing numbness on the left side of her body. Having previously had Bell's palsy, She believes her symptoms presented themselves many years prior. Natasha has relapsing remitting form of MS with multiple exacerbations over the years, some minor and some major. Natasha actively strives to bring awareness to this invisible disease by participating in advocacy, community engagement events, fundraising efforts, and leading the local support group. So you all help me welcome Miss Natasha A. Welcome, welcome.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you.
You are welcome. My pleasure. Thank you for being here. So, we talked the other day and found out that we are neighbors,
Yes.
which is so funny. That's just how small Tallahassee is, right?
Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. Well, tell the people, I read a little bit of your bio, which talks a little bit about who you are, but give us a little bit more about who is Natasha Acoff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that really kind of wrapped it up in a nutshell. I love to travel. As my bio mentioned, I love hanging with my family and friends and hosting game nights. My cousin is my best friend and my cousin are on. So Tamaria and Fayon, thank y'all for joining. Um, but yeah, right now, life with having two small children, they, are really the life of the party right now. Schools, sporting events, active in their schools and just really just trying to enjoy life, trying to keep the stress down and just enjoy life.
Indeed, indeed. I get that. I really do. So I have a 3-year old and a 5-year-old two nephews, 1 3, 1 5. So all of that energy, I get it. I totally get it. Had
Yes.
again opportunity to spend some time with them this weekend, and boy, woo! I love
Yep.
that I'm the auntie because I could give them back. But
Yep. I
great.
understand.
All right. So you mentioned Fayon. Hey, Fayon. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. She got an orange heart up. I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's dive into this conversation again. Please, y'all, share this, like this, let folks know that they need to be on. They can definitely catch the replay, but it's good if you can join in the conversation real time while we're having it so that you can ask any questions or make comments. All right. All right. So, um, in the bio, of course, mentioned that you were diagnosed in 2014.
2014. Yep.
And you said, it also mentioned that you had Bell's palsy. And so, for those who may not be aware of, what Bell's palsy is, can you just talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, I mean, Bell's palsy, while it presents itself like a stroke, is really just a paralysis of the body. Most people have it in their faces. You can kind of see, um, you know, even like part of my face now. I called it Two-Face. That was kind of me like making light of the situation. I called myself Two-Face. But you can even kind of see where a part of my face is a little fluffier than the other. And that's really just because the nerves in my face pretty much died. Like they didn't work.
Mm,
Um, and so I did have that, like this going on with
mhm.
my face for a while. But yeah, Bell's palsy is really just a paralysis of the nerves in that respective part of the body.
Wow. So I would not have noticed that had you not mentioned it at all, really.
I noticed it. I think because I'm looking at myself, I can definitely see it.
Wow, 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 wow. And so, a friend of mine, not too long ago, had Bell's palsy, and her face was just as you were describing, like one side was just kind of frozen, if
Hmm.
you will.
Hmm.
And it's definitely gotten better, almost like it's 100% better. But
Yeah.
every now and again, you can see it's not quite, you know, exactly the way it once was before this happened. Do we know anything about why Bell's palsy takes place?
From what I know, they're both stress related.
Mm,
So stress and fatigue, like I know when I'm tired, I can
mhm.
kind of feel, or if my face starts to twitch or pull, I know I'm tired and I'm extremely tired at that point. And I mean, that's the one thing they tell you one thing a lot of people tell you, even after Bell's palsy, which was in 2011, keep down the stress. Don't stress.
Mm.
Don't stress. And so that's really a mantra, something to just continue for everybody, not just anybody with Bell's palsy or MS, but
Yep.
just remove the stresses from your life.
So I think it's great that you mentioned that because again, this is Mindset Monday, and stress starts in our minds,
Yes, it
right?
does.
We're thinking about things. We're thinking about people, places, things, experiences, or what have you. And our thoughts about those affect our feelings, affect our bodies, right?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so, again, it's just really important that our mindsets be be such that they are stress free as much as we can um, allow that to happen or cause that to happen. So,
Yeah.
we talk about this all the time about coping skills and things that can be done to help reduce the stress. And
Mhm.
so I'm just so glad that you're on here today to talk about your lived experience with the viewers so that they, see that again, the stress, this is like one of the other effects that probably a lot of people aren't aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably bad to say, but I remember once I had Bell's palsy, I had to start having that I don't care attitude, you know? I mean, I'm a professional. I have been, and I had been for, years at that point, but just kind of cutting it off, at a certain time. At 5 o'clock, I go home. I put my cell phone, I mean, so much so on the weekends, my work phone is dead by the time I pick it up on Mondays because I put it down on Friday. I don't pick it back up until Monday. So, just kind of trying to remove everything and being conscious of what is stressing me out and making sure I'm doing my part for myself to not be stressed. And that kind of goes to that self-care Sunday, self-care Saturday, self-care every day. I get massages regularly. I go to stretch zone. I let them stretch me, just trying to listen to music and debrief. Like I'm trying to do all the things I can to keep my stresses down.
No, very well said. And hopefully you all are taking note. She says self care Sunday, self care Saturday, self care every day. So
Yep,
every day we need to be taking care of ourselves. And yes,
absolutely.
massages, yes, the hot baths, yes, to stretches, yes, the exercise, yes, to all of these things, right? We need to be doing all of this. So Johnny Johnson was asking, what do you do to relieve stress? And you mentioned a few things, right? So you
Yep.
stretches, you go massages. So Johnny, I'm going to ask you, what do you do to relieve stress? Let us know in the comments if you don't mind. I see you, Ozzy Daniel. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Our local, look, I say local clinician, our resident clinician. He is based in Virginia Beach, and my sister Shayla is here, also from South Florida. Thank you for being here, Shay. So yes, Johnny, tell us, and not just Johnny, any and everybody on the live. Let us know, what do you do in the comments? What do you
Mhm.
do to relieve stress? What do you do to relieve stress?
Yeah.
I tell you, hot bath is a good one for me. That
Mindless television. I watch
television.
mindless television. I don't want to have to think about a lot. I watch mindless television, game shows, Hallmark, just things that I don't want anything too serious. I don't want anything too heavy. I deal
Mhm.
with work all day. I work in disaster recovery, so that's a lot in and of itself. So like just trying to keep it mellow as much as I can.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right, they are commenting. So Johnny said he takes those 2 mile walks. That's a
That's
good one. That is a good one. Marlo Rivers, thanks for being here. Exercise. That is also good. That movement, you can't beat it. I'm telling you. Ozzy said meditation and walks. Yes. Fayon said long baths, walks on the trail, playing pool. Yes, all great, great stress relievers. Tamaria is similar to Natasha. I get regular massages. I listen to jazz and mellow music. Yes, yes, yes to all of that. So, if you don't do some of these things that are mentioned, try them. Pick them up, try them, and see if those will be some good stress relievers for you. All right, we got Marjorie on here. Thanks for being here, Marjorie. She said, I do not know how to pronounce this.
Is it Jorgen's syndrome?
Jordan's
I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
syndrome.
And fibromyalgia.
Please forgive me, Marjorie, for murdering the name. Um, so, Snorgen's syndrome and fibromyalgia, it worsens and flares with stress as well. Blood circulation helps manage symptoms, so regulate pressure point treatments are excellent to make sure you have proper flow. Yes,
Mhm.
that's a great point.
Okay.
So Marjorie wanted to know, can you elaborate on diagnosis?
Yeah, I mean, for me, myself, I mean, I'll start with my symptoms. So my symptoms started with numbness from my ear down to my hip. And that's typically how I know I'm starting to flare because I start with numbness. But a lot of people end up having to get lumbar punctures. But most people that are diagnosed with MS is done with just with an MRI. And it is the lesions that are present in multiple parts of the body. So lesions of the brain, lesions on the spine, and then more than one of them, which is why you have the multiple of them. But most people that are diagnosed with just an MRI.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. So let's talk. And I know, we started out with the Bell's palsy because I know you mentioned it in the bio that you probably could have been diagnosed earlier. But I wanted to talk around the Bell's palsy because maybe, and I don't know if this is the case, but perhaps if that hadn't happened, you wouldn't have even known that you had, the multiple sclerosis was an issue.
Possibly. I think the fact that I had it is one of those kind of lead-ins to why I think I've had it years prior. Because
Gotcha.
I had Bell's palsy in 2011, but I've had a history of migraines since I was 12 years old.
Mm,
I remember my first neurologist visit here in Tallahassee. I was 19.
mm-hmm.
And even then, like I keep receipts, right? So like I have old email where it mentioned numbness, or when I was doing nerve tests, and this is 19, 20 years old. But at that point, nobody mentioned anything about MS. And even once I was diagnosed with Bell's palsy, there was a mention of optic neuritis. And a lot of people that have MS have eye issues and they have optic neuritis. So it's just these little nuggets that happened over the years that kind of make me believe, maybe I didn't, or maybe I didn't. Maybe it was just my nerves and my, immune system and body doing what it wanted to do. But I think if there were, I would say the lack of resource. I think if there was more resources and more knowledge about MS, it may have been something that could have been diagnosed years prior.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So talk, if you will, and if you can, about exactly what MS is and does.
So, MS, multiple sclerosis, is an autoimmune disease in which your immune system eats away at the protective lining that covers our nerves. We know we have nerves all throughout our bodies, but once those protective linings are eaten away at and messed up, it disrupts the signal between your brain and the rest of your body. So your central nervous system can't do what it's supposed to do. So my mind telling me to do one thing, my body's not getting that. So it presents itself in the numbness, bowel issues, eye issues, cognitive issues, people with memory loss, heat sensitivity. I mean, debilitating at times. I mean, no one person that has MS has the same issues. The other young lady that was going to be on the call today, her MS presents itself much different from mine, which is why they call it an invisible disease. Because if you were to see me, you wouldn't know I had MS, but I do. And so it can be debilitating. It may not be, but that's basically what it is. It's our immune system eating away at the protective lining of our nerves, which causes that disruption between the communication from our brain to the rest of our bodies.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And so we also are sending our thoughts with Ashley Peterman, who was supposed to join us tonight, because, like you said, I know that her, as you stated, her condition can is debilitating at times, in such
Mhm.
that she cannot do much of anything. So it
Yeah,
affects different. It affects people in a variety of ways.
absolutely.
Hmm. All right, I want to acknowledge my mom who
Mhm.
joined us. She
Ooh.
said she exercises some, gets a massage, gets quiet, reads daily devotionals. Yes. So thank you, Mom, for sharing that. All right. So Johnny had a question about, are the symptoms the same for MS and CP? Uh,
So I kind of saw that. I'm not sure what CP is, but
yeah, I'm not
the
sure what
symptoms
CP is.
the symptoms are different for every person.
Mhm.
I mean, we hosted our support group on this past Saturday, and there are people that come in wheelchairs, come in with walkers, come in with speech impediments. They they vary from person to person.
Mhm.
That I have back pain a lot. I can't walk, the 2 miles that you all said without my legs feeling wobbly or feeling, just feeling uneasy. But
Mhm.
that may not be the same for other people. There are other people with MS that exercise daily and do all types of exercises, but they may have other issues. They may have, muscle spasms or cognitive issues, bowel issues. Just never know. Every
Mhm.
person is different. There's no cookie cutter way to describe anybody's MS symptoms.
Oh, cerebral palsy.
Oh, gotcha. I don't know about cerebral palsy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. Okay, so I'm going to get to Tamari's question about treatments, but I want you to also, if you don't mind, talk around how you come to getting a diagnosis of MS. In terms of going to your primary care, or do they refer you out for a special test, or how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, you are your own expert, right? You know your body. You should listen to your body. If your body is telling you something's not right, it might not be right. Most people have a primary care physician. Start there. Your PCP probably will not diagnose you unless you have noticeable symptoms. With my Bell's palsy, I went to my primary care and she told me before I left there, I should be glad I came in the day I did because by tomorrow I will have screw face. And I did. Um, but that was just me having the slightest bit of symptoms. So I would say listen to your body, go get checked. If you are uncertain, go to your primary care physician. They will probably refer you to either get an MRI or seek a neurologist. And hopefully most neurologists will start an aggressive treatment, at least begin treatment sooner rather than later, so that you aren't spending too much time not on any medication. But there are times when doctors are uncertain. I just met somebody that was diagnosed back in October, and he's not on any medications yet because they're still trying to figure out. They want to be 99% sure. I think his neurologist mentioned he was 95% sure, but he wants to be 99% sure. And so that time gap between getting that initial diagnosis and getting an official diagnosis could be life threatening. Like, it could that your symptoms could be light, they could be heavy, within that 3 months, within that 6 months. But the sooner the sooner you start to seek professional help, the better off you will be.
All right. All right. So now we'll get to Mary's question about, what are your treatments like?
So I started on, and this is the only medication I've been on, which they call them disease modifying therapies, DMTs. I am on a pill called Gilenia. It's once a day pill. The first day you take it, you have to sit through an 8-hour observation where they're monitoring you just to make sure you're not having any heart issues, any blood pressure issues, and things like that. Um, the pill has been great for me. I don't have any issues. I know when I'm off of it, I flare. Um, I don't believe any of the MS medications are fetus friendly. So most women that have MS and are on a disease modifying therapy have to get off of it for a certain amount of months before they should consider conceiving.
Mhm.
Was not the case for me, but that I'm on a medication. I'm on a daily medication, and there are a lot of medications. I'm sure a lot of you see the commercials now. I know Ocrevus. I think Kesimpta is a commercial I see regularly. And they have pills. They have twice a day pills. They have, I think, 3 time a week pills, infusions, daily shots. It just varies on your progression of your MS and what type of therapy is best for you.
Wow. So let me ask you, again, this is Mindset Monday, but what were you thinking when all of this was taking place?
Whew, I thought it was a death sentence. So
Mm,
first for me, it even with the MS, I mean, even with the Bell's palsy. So I traveled a lot for work. When I was diagnosed with Bell's palsy, I was living in Baton Rouge. I had zero family there. I was there working. And it was hard. It was hard to deal with because I'm like, here I am, 6 hours away, dealing with this by myself. When the MS symptoms happened, I was living in Orlando and traveling to Jersey for work. And it started Easter Sunday. So I'm coming up on my anniversary. It started on Easter Sunday. And again, I'm feeling this numbness. I remember asking my brother, like, hey, what do you think about this? He's like, oh, maybe it'll go away. I'm at church, like, Lord, please, I don't know what's happening, what's going on.
mhm,
Um, Urgent care couldn't do anything because they don't do MRIs. So I'm like,
mm.
okay, I'll go to work the next day, and just see what it is. So here I am flying out to Jersey on Monday morning, and I'm walking through the airport in Detroit, talking to my dad. I'm like, something's not right. Like it's not right. So finally get to Jersey. I fly into Philly. I drive straight to the emergency room. They take me back immediately, and they're like, oh, it's on the left side of your body. Let's go get you checked out right now. And by the end of that night, the radiologist came in. He was like, I'm 99% sure you have MS. Death sentence. Because I had no clue. I tell people, you don't know about MS until you know about MS. I had never heard of MS. I didn't know anybody that I didn't know personally,
Mhm.
anybody that had MS. That's not to say I hadn't been around people that had MS. I don't know, right? Because it's that invisible disease. But here I am in Ewing, New Jersey, in a hotel room by myself. And I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried because I was like, what in the world is happening? I don't know what's going on. I'm going to die. And then I'm talking to people and they're like, oh, yeah, my family member was diagnosed at this age. They lived for 13 years. I'm like, okay, I'm still young. I was 33 at the
Mm.
time. So, um, yeah, I thought it was a death sentence. It was hard.
Wow.
It was hard to deal with.
Wow, especially the way that you found out and where you were and all of that. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I can
I
only
will say my coworkers were super supportive. I mean, I went to the hospital that within the next couple of weeks, I had an appointment with a neurologist, and I remember getting to his office, and he was like, "We're admitting you to the hospital right now. You don't
mm,
go home. You don't go back to the hotel. You're going straight to the hospital because we want to start treating you." And by treatment, they usually do when you flare, they usually treat it with steroids. So
mm, okay.
I spent 5 days in the hospital, but I had flowers from home. I had flowers from my coworkers in Baton Rouge. My managers came to see me in Jersey. And when I finally got back to
Nice.
work, one of my managers came in and he shut the door and he was like, Natasha, I just want you to call your family and tell them we got you.
Oh,
As long as
nice.
you're traveling up here, we got you. And that was a special moment because I'm like, okay, I'll be all right. I'll be all
Yeah,
right. So
yes,
yeah.
for sure. No, I'm so glad to hear that they showed you some empathy and kindness and compassion in that moment. And
Yep.
so that's great. I want to mention Fayon's comment. She said Natasha is an excellent model for self advocacy. Black women, unfortunately, have to be super adamant about being heard in regards to symptoms. So great point, and I'm gonna pause it just a moment to do a quick station ID for those of you who are just watching us. I have Miss Natasha Acoff on, and we are talking around life with MS, MS being multiple sclerosis. And March is Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month, and March 12th through the 19th of this year is Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Week. And so we are kicking off the week with a talk around MS, and Natasha's talking about her lived experience, which kind of started with Bell's palsy in some regards, and some of the things that you know her treatment, how she found out she uh, had Bell's palsy, and some of the advocacy, which we'll get into in just a moment. I'm gonna come back to Fion's question, but Johnny has a question about whether or not it is hereditary. Are you aware of MS being hereditary?
So I don't know. The year before I had Bell's palsy, my dad had Bell's palsy.
Mm,
And then over the past year or so, some of the symptoms that he's having, some of the issues that he's having, I'm like, do you have MS? And he's
mm,
like, no, I don't know if he's actually been tested for it, but
right.
I don't think there's a direct link for it to be hereditary. There are family members that have multiples within their family with MS, but
Hmm.
I've not heard of it being a direct link between, a parent, child.
Okay. Okay. Let me say hi to Miss Constant Young. Thank you for being here, Tina. I appreciate you. Listen, Constance just blessed me with a lovely plate of food before I came over here. So I'm really grateful for her right now. All right. So let's go back to this advocacy piece, as specifically as it relates to Black women, because that was going to be part of my discussion tonight is Black folks with MS. Like, I don't really hear a whole lot about us with it. And maybe again, it's one of those invisible diseases, that we have, and maybe we just don't talk about a whole lot. But I just don't hear us talking about it. And to hear to read Fayon's comment about Black women being adamant about being heard regarding to symptoms, I think that's just Black folks, period,
Mhm.
in the medical community, because I, at least I have heard story after story of medical professionals um, not taking Black folks seriously with the pain that they are experiencing, or thinking that they can take a lot of pain, that they have higher tolerances for pain because they're Black. And so, what have you experienced anything like that in your MS walk?
No, and it may be because when I was diagnosed, I was in up north, I was in Jersey, and
Mhm.
they have MS centers. And so
Mm,
MS centers see a lot more people, right?
okay.
Whereas, in Tallahassee is small, but it's not that small. But, I don't know that the population of MS patients in Tallahassee is as large as it is up there. I will say I have met a lot of Black people with MS.
You
Um,
have.
so much so, I mean, even the MS Society has a Black MS experience week
Mm,
of activities. There's another group I follow on Facebook, it's just all Black women. There are a lot of us. And even in Tallahassee, I mean, I can probably name 10, 15 Black people in Tallahassee with MS, and I'm sure there are more. Um, but I think a lot of issues, at least from a national point of view, surrounding Black people in medical care is their access to the resources, their access to the medical care, and whether or not they're in underserved communities, how that plays into, them going to the doctor, them actually, again, listening to their bodies and speaking about the symptoms that they have and actually going to, seek that professional help. Um,
mhm.
but I, I mean, to Fayon's point, you have to advocate for yourself. Black women, Black people, Black men, Black whoever, you have to advocate for yourself, and you have to seek the medical care, because as long as you are asking the questions, somebody will answer them. Somebody has to answer them. You just
Indeed.
keep asking the questions and getting an answer.
So prior to your diagnosis, did you know folks that You didn't know anybody that had MS, right?
No, again, you don't know about MS until you know about MS.
Mm-hmm.
I stand firm with that. I had zero clue until I was diagnosed.
Wow.
I didn't know about it. I had never heard about it. Even when I mention MS, people think, oh, muscular dystrophy. No, MS.
Mm-hmm.
Or oh, you got scoliosis. No, MS. Like people, it's just and that may also be a black thing, right? Like we
Yeah.
just don't the knowledge isn't there. And I may not even be black people, just in general. The awareness isn't there, the knowledge isn't there. People don't know about it, which is what I am striving to do in Tallahassee. We have the breast cancers, we have the pancreatic cancer, we have the March of Dimes, household names, right? MS needs to be better. I mean, in Tallahassee, there are a lot of people in Tallahassee that suffer with MS. A lot of young people that are being diagnosed with MS that also think it's a death sentence. And I think the more awareness we have, the more people know about it, the more we know how to handle these situations. Our families know how to handle these situations. And so overall, just a better experience for everybody.
Indeed. All right. I need to acknowledge a few folks that are on here. Marjorie, I'm going to get to your question in just a moment. So, Business Navigation and Solutions, who I think is Kiosha. Hey, thanks for being here. Uh, as Hope Davis said, thank you for sharing your experience and bringing awareness to this disease. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for being here, Hope Davis. And then Tamaria said, it seems like Black people are less likely to publicly acknowledge their diagnosis. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, a lot of people don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think talking about it makes it real.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to deal with it. You can deal with it in silence. You can deal with it in your own household. But once you talk about it, once it makes it real, and you have to start addressing it to people, having the conversations about it. Some people just aren't ready to talk about it.
Do
They don't
you
want to
think
talk about it.
Do you believe that people's unwillingness to talk about it is because of a lack of a cure?
Possibly,
Mm,
possibly so,
okay.
because it's scary. It's scary. I mean,
Okay.
I had a lot of people say women when they're pregnant have less MS symptoms. I had
Mm.
my worst flare when I was 4 months pregnant.
Oh wow.
So much so that I was numb from here down to my feet. I had
Mm.
drop foot. I didn't know what I was stepping on when I was stepping. And then in the midst of my 5-day steroid treatment, I lost movement in my hands. So I had paralysis in my hands.
Mm.
Worst flare I've ever experienced. And again, I'm 4 months pregnant. I have a 2-year-old at this point. I have no clue if I'm going to wake up and my back pain is going to be so bad that I'm not going to be able to walk, or that my legs are going to be so wobbly that I'm going to fall, that I'm going to need a walker, that I'm going to need a cane or whatever. It's absolutely uncertain. You just don't know what's going to happen. And I think that is scary. It's scary for me. I have 2 children. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. While I might be 42 years old, I still got a lot of life to live, and I want to be able to live it for them,
Mm.
but you just don't know. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Wow. 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 I can't even imagine. So again, thank you for sharing your experience with us. So Marjorie said, I may have missed this, but what is your approach to managing your health via medical care? Have you ever explored a holistic approach? And if so, did it improve?
I have not. Um, I am a huge proponent of doctors. I have no problem going to the doctor. I'm hopeful and prayerful that they are the medical professionals and have enough knowledge about this disease that they can help me.
Hmm.
Um, that's not to say I'm opposed to it, but I have not. I know there are people that speak highly of holistic approaches, medical marijuanas, no medication at all. There are a lot of people that are thriving. I met a lady the other day that hasn't been on a medication for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And she's you can tell she has the issues, but she looks good and she's
Okay.
happy. So it just depends on what works for you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. So you spoke specifically as it relates to your body and numbness being some of the symptoms. Is there any pain that might be associated with it as well?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. A lot of people experience pain. I mean, I have back pain.
Mhm.
And one thing more recently, so I went to, well, we'll talk about advocacy, but I met a group of people over the past week or so that mentioned back pain being tied to the medication that we're on. And
Mm.
I hadn't thought about it. I've been getting, again, I get massages, but I try to incorporate the chiropractor and
Mhm.
going to physical therapy, doing the stretches, thinking that's what's causing my back pain. And now I'm like, oh, well, is it the MS that's causing my back pain? I
Mm.
have no clue. But I have pain. And I don't know if it's because of the MS or if it's because of something else. But pain is absolutely a thing for a lot of people with MS.
Yeah. Okay. Marjorie said holistic would still be with doctors, osteopathic doctors maybe.
Gotcha.
I'm sure somebody is probably. I mean, and like you said, there's some folks that utilize holistic approaches in dealing with it.
Yeah.
Constance said she has two cousins that have MS. Third is being tested.
Mhm.
They are sisters. Some
Same
same
father.
father, but different moms. I feel it's directly linked to their father. So
Mhm.
she believes that it might be hereditary, and that may be the case.
Yeah.
I definitely think that that's worth looking into. At
Mhm.
least, at bare minimum, tell your children or your grandchildren or whomever your family members what's going on with you, so that they
Exactly.
know
It
that.
goes back to that sharing. It goes back to that talking about it, like knowing, oh, I had this when or I was diagnosed with this 30 years
Right,
ago,
right,
having those
exactly,
conversations.
exactly. And I'm gonna come back to your other question, Marjorie. Let me just say hey to Miss Betty Proctor. Thank you for being here. All right. So Marjorie said also, many people state diet can control, prevent some of these diagnoses. Can certain diets improve symptoms? Have you altered your diet at all? And that's my sidebar question. Have you
I
altered your diet at all? And if you have you noticed the difference?
I haven't I have not altered my diet. I mean, there are definitely conversations with neurologists that just overall diet is healthy, so incorporating the diet I think is good. There are websites about MS that talk about this diet or that diet. I don't think there's any diet that specifically says it improves. I think it's just based on the person and what diet works for the
Mhm.
individual.
Are there any things that you can eat or drink that are like MS no nos or
I haven't experienced any,
okay,
so I'm not totally sure.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Fine. All right. TK Jackson says, so important to share family medical history. Absolutely, TK. Thank you for being here. And KZ8 said, this is good. Thank you for being here. All right. Marjorie said, with all of the symptoms of MS, you may have regular pains from things not stemming from the diagnosis. How are they able to differentiate? Have you been able to differentiate?
Uh-uh. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what's causing my back pain. Fatigue is a huge symptom for MS patients, but I don't know if I'm tired because I worked a lot, if I'm tired
Mm-hmm.
because I'm running after two kids, if I'm tired
Mm-hmm.
because of the MS, if I'm tired because of anemia. It's hard to say. I don't know. So I try not to say I'm tired because of my MS. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
And I have back pain and I don't really know why.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, are you aware of what's being done? I mean, I know you are a huge advocate, but are you aware of what's being done by way of research or, you know, I saw some as I was, looking up, uh, becoming educated about
Mhm.
MS. There was a number of things or a number of articles, write ups around stem
Stem
cells.
cells.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm,
Um, I think there have been studies for stem cell research,
mhm,
and whether or not it does improve patients with MS. I don't know if there's anything definitive that's
okay,
been identified. But a lot of the funds that are being raised right now are going towards MS research.
mhm,
As a part of my visit to Capitol Hill last week, one of the initiatives and asks that we presented to our Florida representatives was $22 million towards the MS research program. And that's really to help fund that research. We know that there has to be a cure. I mean, it may not be in my lifetime, but at some point there will be a cure. And I think we are, at a point in life where we're closer. I mean, 40 years ago, there were maybe three medicines available, three therapies that were available, whereas now I think there's 22-ish. And so in the next 40 years, there may be 100 different ones that treat different pieces or different parts of MS. So the research, I think, is key. People participating in studies, Black people go to the studies, get so that the professionals and so the people that are doing the studies, can say, oh, this is linked to this or that's linked to that. Or we understand that it's not just people that are in the north that are vitamin D deficient. The people in the south also have vitamin D. They don't have vitamin D deficiencies, but they still get MS. So I think research is key. So
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. There are studies that are being done, and so it's important for us to participate, especially as
yeah,
Black folks, so that they can know what the differentiation might be for us as folks of color. All right, so Mary wants to know: is your anemia related to the MS?
it's not been identified as such, no. And I've been anemic for as long as I can remember, but I've not always to the point of needing medication or anything. So I don't know that nobody's ever linked it to the MS.
Okay. And I saw Hope. Oh, okay. Marjorie said, "Forgive me. I have so many questions. Does this prevent you from being covered by insurance? Any advice for others being covered?"
Um, I have never had any issues with my insurance coverage. I do have private insurance, so I know a lot of people locally have CHP, but I've also never heard of anybody with CHP being denied. There's also a lot of the medications have copay programs. Medications are super expensive. My little 30-day bottle is $8,000.
What?
There are some
$8,000?
8,000. There are some of the medications that go up to $20,000. There are a lot of people that it's either be homeless or have a disease modifying therapy. That's just how expensive the medications are. There are insurance that have denied for people just in conversations I've had, but again, there are copay assistances that are available for majority, if not all, of the insurances. So I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm just blown away.
And that was a hot topic last year. That was a part of the advocacy and asks that we were presenting last year in Washington, D.C. was how do we get medication costs down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you probably can get it somewhere, Canada or somewhere for cheaper.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's probably as easy as a Google. Like you can Google the amount of the MS medications. They are a lot.
Yeah. We got to do better with that. So tell me, you mentioned these centers, these MS centers. Tell me a little bit about that in terms of what they do.
So in the couple that I've been to, a lot of the MS centers are set up to be comprehensive visits. So most typically when you go to an MS visit, they want to make sure you can walk, so they check your walking, they check your strength. So with the MS centers that I've gone to, they do a more thorough visit. They also have places for infusions because a lot of the patients are getting infusions or doing their steroid treatments. So they have facilities for infusions. They're just specialists. If there's an MS center, there's a specialist in MS, not just a neurologist, but an actual specialist that is their nurses, their staff are all knowledgeable about MS. Something I've experienced not to always be the case locally. So that a lot of people in Tallahassee go to Mayo. I go to Mayo. I have a MS specialist at Mayo in Jacksonville. A lot of people go to Shands in Gainesville just to make sure they're seeing somebody that specializes in MS.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. Makes a whole lot of sense. Again, this is an education for me. So did not know about these MS centers, but definitely will kind of hone in on that a bit more now that you've mentioned it. All right, Lynette is on here. She said, "Are you aware of any Florida legislation moving through that will impact MS access?"
Not that I know of.
Mhm.
I'm not sure.
All right, so not to say that it doesn't exist, but
I don't know.
not aware of it. Yeah. All right. Wow. So let me go back to Hope's comment. She said, uh, "You are doing a fantastic job of juggling so much. Keep up the fight."
Thanks,
Indeed,
Hope.
indeed, indeed, indeed. Wow. Um, all right. Well, let's get on to some of the advocacy piece. So you are part of an advocacy group, correct?
Yeah, it's with the MS Society.
Okay.
They have MS activists that they train. So last year I went to a 3-day training where they just talk to you about how to advocate, how to be an activist, what's your wow, and being able to speak about the topics that the MS Society are currently working on. What's your wow, appropriations, the right people to talk to, doing newsletters, letter to the editors, posting on social media. Um, I just I'm a huge proponent of it. I want to make sure Tallahassee is the capital, right? And so I want to make sure I'm doing my part to bring awareness to the state of Florida, to Tallahassee about MS. That may be, I do, working with Ashley. Ashley does a great job of making sure we get our proclamations. So the city of Tallahassee presented proclamations this past week. I've received one over the past years. Leon County commissioners have presented proclamations. I've also received those. So just continue to speak out, continue to speak out about the cost of medications, continue to speak about the need for funding for MS research and the MSVA centers of excellence, continue to speak out about the lack of knowledge in airlines and, how MS patients are being handled when they're traveling, things like that. Like I, I just try to do my part to be the advocate I can be.
Wow. All right. Fayon asked about any advice for people that live in rural areas that may lack resources or insurance, that may not be near a MS center or be able to afford to travel to one. Are there resources out there for them?
The MS Society. MS
MS.
Society has navigators
Okay.
that are available to provide information. They can look up your, excuse me, look up your zip code and find the closest location, the closest center, the closest support group, and just provide you information through their website, through their contacts. I would say that for people in rural areas that have nowhere to go or don't have insurance, that'll be the first step.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So definitely want to connect with the MS Society, and we're gonna provide some of that information in just a moment. Oh, there we go. All right. So the Tallahassee hotline is listed here as well as the website. And then the national organization is listed here on the screen for you as well. So definitely, if you think you may have MS in terms, especially in terms of what we have kind of talked about here tonight, please reach out. Please
Mhm.
be assessed, be tested, get your MRI so that they can find out what's going on with you. Because it's no need for you to suffer in
Yeah,
silence.
absolutely.
Definitely, this is part of the help, right? Just starting the conversation, you
Yep,
know, having some awareness around what could be going on with you or a loved one or
absolutely.
a friend, a family member. So please utilize these resources and get the help that's out there.
I think that's one of a key piece to mention, that support your loved ones, your caregivers, your friends, your family. There are it's good to have people in your corner that are also speaking out for you, that are also advocating for you, that are also being the voice that you can't be.
Mhm.
Like I said, there are MS patients that can't speak, can't talk, can't move, can't do anything. They also need somebody to speak up for them. There are people that are being diagnosed with MS that don't want to talk about it. And they don't have to talk about it, but you can talk about it for them. You can talk about it because you're watching them. You know the experiences that they're going through. Go to a meeting and just say, "Hey, I have so and so in my family or so and so my friend that has MS. I just want to know what I can do. What can you do?" And just doing that and being there for that person, I think is super helpful.
Indeed, indeed. All right, folks are chiming in. Great conversation. I see you, Kufu. Thank you for joining us. Better late than never. You can always check out the replay. So again, folks are chiming in. I appreciate you all for being on here. So I was going to ask for any final words, but you really just kind of summed it up just then. So I'm going to leave it at that. All right. So again, for those of you who have not put in the comments, if this has been beneficial to you, let us know. Put a heart, put a thumbs up, give us a high five or something in the comments and let us know if this has been good for you. All right.
Marjorie, go get that massage. Tell them I
Yeah.
sent you. Go get the
Yeah.
massage.
So Marjorie said she's going to tell everybody she's been prescribed a mandatory massage every Saturday by Natasha for self-care Saturday. I love it.
Yep.
Listen, I'm going tomorrow. I'm overdue. I didn't get one last month, so I'm ready, boy.
Yes.
Ready, ready, ready. Yes. Thank you, Connie. I appreciate you. Thank you, Kiosha. Thank you, Vanetta. Appreciate you. Thank you, TK Jackson. Thank you, Sharice, Fayon, Portia, Betty Proctor, S. Hope Davis. Thank you all for being on here and for your energy, for your engagement, and for your attention. Please, if you don't subscribe to the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel, please do so. Subscribing and supporting, and we need all the support we can get. And we are here every Monday, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. talking about mental health and wellness. And sometimes it's not just mental health, sometimes it's other things, but it all affects our mental health, right? So
Absolutely.
this is just one aspect of how stress, um, can cause Bell's palsy.
Mhm.
And then there are other things that might take place, right? So again, great conversation. Natasha, how can folks connect with you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at it's me underscore but not really, because I was trying to stay away from Instagram, but it didn't happen. But it's me underscore but not really. Or you can follow us or follow our local group, our local efforts at on Twitter, MS Tallahassee, Facebook, MSNIN Tallahassee, and in Instagram, Tally MS Group.
All right.
Follow us. You can also visit our website, tlhmsgroup.org. All of the social media links are on there. You can find out how to become an activist, how to become an advocate, how to join our fundraising efforts. We are having a walk on March 25th at 9 a.m. at God Beat. So it's an informal walk. So come out, join us, wear your orange, walk with us. If you can't join us, walk anyway, walk anywhere, join our team. Um, if you're passing by the Capitol or Cascades Bridge, they should be lit up orange this week for MS awareness.
Nice.
Watch the Leon County Commission meeting on the 21st. We'll also be presented a proclamation then, City of Tallahassee. Just follow us and share. Help me help the City of Tallahassee raise awareness and bring more awareness to this invisible disease.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah. So y'all wear your orange this week. Wear your orange. Take a picture. Hashtag
There
conversations with Nicole.
you go.
Right. All right. Very good. Thank you so much, Natasha, for sharing again your lived experience, sharing your advocacy, again, and sharing this event that's coming up on March 25th at Godby High School at 9 a.m. A walk, a MS walk. So y'all come out, support, be there, be present, and meet somebody with MS or that may be able to advocate or provide some assistance or some resources as it relates to that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to bid you all good night, but thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you all.